Hi everyone, my name is Grace Gibson. I'm in charge of data and analytics at LaunchVic, and one of my main jobs is managing LaunchVic's data platforms, which is what I'm going to be speaking to you about today. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're all meeting on. For me, it's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend my respect to the traditional owners of the lands that you're tuning in from too, as well as any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples joining today. I'd also like to thank DIF for having me. I'm a self-professed data nerd, so it's really exciting being able to share this platform with you all because I think it's really, really cool. So I'll just share my screen now so I can run you through the Dealroom platform. Today we're going to be talking about the data platforms that LaunchVic uses and how you can use those too. So whether you're a startup founder or employee, an investor, you work in government or the media, or just have an interest in the startup ecosystem, there's something in here that's going to help you in your day-to-day. So as LaunchVic is the Victorian government startup agency, it's really important for us to have our finger on the pulse when it comes to knowing about the Victorian startup ecosystem. We use data to inform our strategy so that we know that we're focusing our efforts where the ecosystem needs it most. We also use it to promote Victorian startups nationally and internationally, and also to advocate on behalf of the ecosystem to help inform government policy and advocate for support for the sector. So today I'm going to be talking about LaunchVic's Dealroom platform. I'll also touch on how we're using Proven to help Victorian startups get access to deals and promotions to help lower their business costs. I'll first tell you a little bit about the Victorian Dealroom platform that we call Finding Startups. I'll talk about why we work with Dealroom and give you a quick demo of some of the platform's capabilities. But there's a lot in here. So the best way to get an idea of everything that it can do is really to create a free account yourself and just get in there and have a look around for yourselves. We'll quickly go through some of the main tabs here though that might be useful for you. I'll then just quickly speak about Proven and how claiming a startup on Dealroom can get you access to the promotions that will help lower your business costs. I might use the words Dealroom and Finding Startups a little bit interchangeably here and don't want to confuse you at all. So Dealroom is the global company that runs the platform. They've also got an international platform. And Finding Startups is the specific domain that LaunchVic uses so that we're just showing Victorian startups. So Dealroom are based in Amsterdam, but they have a team all over the place and were up until last year very focused on Europe, but their presence in the rest of the world is just growing and growing. LaunchVic partnered with Dealroom at the end of last year because we had this massive database of startups sitting in Excel spreadsheets. And we really wanted a place that we could make that data public and open source too, so that everybody can use it. A couple of reasons we thought this was really important is one, we want everyone speaking about startups and being able to talk specifically about Victorian startups and how amazing they are. So we really needed a central spot to showcase all of those. We also wanted to give investors somewhere that they can find Victorian startups easily and a place that we can direct investors when they come to LaunchVic asking for specific companies that they can get into their pipeline. We also wanted government workers and researchers to be able to go in and pull out case studies and stories about Victorian startups so that they can inform their work as well. So keeping all of that data to ourselves was stopping all of that from happening. Dealroom worked with us to make our data public and open source so that startups have the ability to edit their own information if there's any inconsistencies. We know that this data in this kind of industry is never going to be 100% perfect. Some startups don't disclose raises straight away or don't want them public at all. Some might be in ambiguous sectors. There's a whole lot of kind of things that are really, your judgment to make about the data in here as well. So we wanted to give startups themselves an opportunity to edit the information that we have on them to make sure it's as accurate as possible so that we're able to tell those stories. So we worked with Dealroom to create this platform. Anyone can go in and make a free account, search through it all, download the data. If you see your company in there, you can claim it so that you have edit access. But I'll just stop talking about it and actually show you how you can use the platform so you can get a better understanding about how it can actually be used in your day-to-day. So the tabs I'll walk through today are startups and scale-ups, jobs, investors, accelerators, and then a couple of the Dealroom tools down the bottom. So where does the data come from? The data in Dealroom comes from LaunchVic's database of startups that we've been collecting for the years leading up to implementing Dealroom, but had just sitting in spreadsheets on a server until we implemented the platform. We've made sure that we've only included public information on the platform though, of course. When we partnered with Dealroom, we merged this with Dealroom's own database, which is made up of data pulled using their artificial intelligence from public sources such as news, company filings, investor profiles, and websites like LinkedIn. And this is continually scraped, so there's always new information being automatically added into the platform. So this is the dashboard. It's just a high-level view of what's on the platform, and you can view by, filter it by location and by funding. You can come down and see hot startups and hot scale-ups, which is based on the rate of recent employee growth, which Dealroom scraped from LinkedIn, and also website visitation. But I'll let you explore the rest of the dashboard in your own time. The next page I'll go into is startups and scale-ups. So this is a full list of all of the startups and scale-ups currently in our database. This is where we send investors that come to LaunchVic asking where to find particular kinds of Victorian startups that they might be interested in investing in. So if you're a startup and you're not in the platform, you could be missing out on those investors finding your startup. Using the advanced filter button here, you can filter by a whole lot of data points. Dealroom collects a huge amount of data. If they're B2B or B2C, different sectors, subsectors, location, age, size, growth, funding. There's a whole lot in there that I'll let you explore. It's also a really great resource for people working in government or researchers to go in and find case studies on startups working in particular sectors or at different stages by using the different age and size growth filters so that you can find the right businesses to engage for trade missions and similar programs that government runs. So for example, here you could want a list of health startups that have, say, a female founder. So we can just go in here, tick those boxes, and we get a pretty good list here that we can go in and have a look at these startups and really do a bit more research on. LaunchVic also uses this to find speakers for events and that kind of thing that might be suited to particular sectors or parts of the Victorian startup ecosystem. So I'll show you quickly a startup profile. We'll use Curious Biologics. So you can see it links off here to their website and LinkedIn. You can see their recent raises. Obviously, they raised a Series A back in June, which is here, and also look at the founder as well as news articles that have been scraped by Dealroom about the company. If this was a startup that you worked at and you wanted edit access, as long as you're logged into your free account, you can just click Add My Profile here. And if your email domain matches with the company's website domain, Dealroom will connect your profile and then you'll have edit access so that you can maintain the data. And if there's anything inaccurate that's made its way in there, then you'll be able to update it. This is also how you claim a startup profile and how you get access to the deals and promotions on the Proven platform that I'll speak about later. So the next tab I'll talk about is jobs. I'll just touch really quickly here because it's Dealroom's latest feature. It's just an MVP, but what it does at the moment is it scrapes all of the open jobs from companies' websites if they've got a Dealroom profile. So if your startup is hiring and you have the job ad up on your website, you don't have to do anything. It automatically gets pulled across onto this board. And people looking to work at specific types of startups can use advanced filters up the top here and filter by the kind of startups that they might want to work at. So this is a list of the just over 1,200 jobs at Victorian startups that they're currently advertising for, but these might be based in Victoria or could be a Victorian startup hiring for other offices around the world. So firstly, we can change the location to just Melbourne. We've got about just under 650 jobs going in Melbourne at the moment that we can see. And you can filter further here as well. So you might want to work at an enterprise software company, say in marketing. And you can just get a little list of the companies that are hiring at the moment in those really specific areas. As I said before, this is just an MVP though. Dealroom is still working on, making it capable of a whole lot of other filters. So keep an eye out for it. They're updating it as we speak. And in the next few weeks, they're going to put in a couple more things that you can look at that really drill down on the kinds of jobs that you can find here too. So the investor tab is a pretty extensive list of investors here. That includes national and international investors, as long as they're investing in Victoria. So someone like Techstars, even though they're an American company, they still show up on this list because they have a Victorian presence. So local companies can still find a way to connect with them too. This list includes angels, venture capital funds, private equity and family offices, all investing in Victoria. And you can filter by all those types and a whole lot more using advanced filters here again. This is also a great place for investors to use their profile to keep track of their investment portfolios, or also to analyze others. So I'll quickly show you into Square Peg Capital. You can obviously see their notable investments, recent investments, an analysis of their portfolio by country, industry and round, new funds, news, a little bit more about the team, all of that kind of thing here. So there's a lot of really cool data to check out. I encourage you to go in and really have a look around for yourself. Accelerators are set up with the same profile type as investors, so that they're able to track their alumni in the same way that investors would track companies in their portfolio. So as long as they run in Victoria and accept Victorian startups, they could be listed here. The accelerators that LaunchVic has worked with have found this tool really useful, because when we ask them for milestone reporting, they're not constantly going back to those startups that might have gone through their program like 3 or 5 years ago, asking for employee and raise info. As long as they're connected in Dealroom, we can track those startups here without using a million spreadsheets. Startups can also go here to find accelerators that might be accepting startups similar to your own. And you can see a list of the success stories that might have come out of those accelerators. So it's a really good place to find a list of the ones that you might be interested in applying for. I'll show you Boa by AI's profile. They're a very new accelerator, but we can see the 5 alumni that they have at the moment. If you click through to Alumni Companies, that filters down to just the Victorian companies. So we can get a good look at kind of even further analysis of just those Victorian companies, their valuation, growth signals, and funding too. Dealroom also helps LaunchVic here because we can keep an eye on the success stories that come out of accelerators. And looking at the accelerators in Victoria, we can also see where the gaps might be. So are there a whole lot of ag tech startups being founded at the moment, but not much support for ag techs? Is there something that we can do to change that? Dealroom kind of helps us in all of those regards, using data to make decisions. One feature I really like in Dealroom is the matching tool. So this is a really good way for startups to find international investors investing in companies like theirs that they might want to get in touch with. Or it's also been helpful for government organisations to find international investors that they can connect with that might be looking to invest in specific kinds of Victorian startups. So I'll show you an example. You could search Bankstar, who are a fintech in crypto, and say that they want to raise $1 million of angel funding, obviously by an angel investor. This will give you a quick list of international angel investors investing in companies that are similar to your own. So you can go through and see if they're active at the moment, the companies that they've recently invested in that are kind of like yours as well, to give you an idea of who you might be interested in targeting, or sending out your any kind of investment emails to, anything like that. You can go through here and go through to their LinkedIn and connect with them there. So the last thing I'll show you in Dealroom quickly is the investment heat map. This gives you a high-level view of investment activity across different sectors and a breakdown of patterns over the last 6 years. So we can click here into Fintech because we can see a huge amount of funding has gone into the sector this year. This is a really good place to get a high-level analysis of the sector, but we also find it a really useful tool to find up-and-coming startups. So here you might already know about Zeller or Simple Loans that have had massive raises, but it's a really good way to explore other companies that might be those up-and-comers that we don't know about yet. So here you could go in and see Handy or Maple Finance have also raised large amounts in the last few months. Those companies must be growing quickly, and could those be the massive scale-ups to look out for in the next few years? So that's a quick rundown of the main sections of Dealroom. But as I stated at the start, the best way is really to just jump in there, make a free account, have a look around for yourself. If you have any trouble, Dealroom have a chat function down here, but it might just take them a day to get back to your questions just because they're based in Europe. I actually find that awesome because I can send them all my questions at 4:30 every day and I wake up and everything's answered. But if you do have any trouble getting in contact with Dealroom or need something answered straight away, just email info@launchvic.org with any questions and we'll be able to get back to you on that. So the last thing I'll show you quickly before I go into questions is LaunchVic's Proven Marketplace. So Proven is kind of a two-way platform for startups to get access to promotions and discounts from other startups and scale-ups who want to offer those discounts to grow their customer base. So the way it usually works is an investor firm, for example, Sequoia Capital in the States is one that uses it. They get a subscription to Proven, and that means that all of the startups in their portfolio get access to the deals and promotions that Proven have sourced from companies that are happy to offer those discounts to startups. But we did it a little differently in Victoria. So instead of one investor subscribing to Proven, LaunchVic has just subscribed on behalf of the Victorian startup ecosystem so that all Victorian startups can get access to the promotions because we know how valuable these discounts on business costs can be in those early days. So here is a look at the platform and some of the companies that currently have offers on it. You can see we've obviously got some big names in there like HubSpot have offers at the moment. If you click through further as well, Salesforce and Reputation Air also have offers. We've also got some local companies on Proven like Luna Startup Studio who have a 10% deal on legal and financial services. The only thing you have to do to get access to all of these is to make an account on Finding Startups, claim your startup. We make you do this just so that we can verify that it's just startups having access to the platform. That's because these companies have obviously come in with these deals that are really specific to startups, not corporates or small businesses. And we'll get in touch with you within 2 weeks after you've claimed your startup to give you access to the Proven platform. So already Victorian startups have saved about $70,000 in business costs by cashing in on these deals. So it's really worth getting in there and making sure that you've got access. You can find further instructions on how to claim your startup on the Finding Startups platform and gain access to Proven on the LaunchVic website. So just go to launchvic.org/general/finding startups. I think Isha's going to put that in the chat or maybe already has. I'll make sure that it's there. But it's really self-explanatory. Pretty much if you're logged into Finding Startups, you can search for your startup. You'll be able to claim it by flagging to Dealroom that you work there. And Dealroom will be in touch to let you know once it's verified or if your startup isn't already in there, but you want to put it in. When you search it, you can just click Add Startup. And as long as you have a website, Dealroom will walk you through the rest of the process. So that's all of everything I've kind of got on the demos for today. Did anyone have any questions? We can see one that's come through. How broadly or / narrowly are you defining accelerators? For example, does it also include information on incubators? We do in Dealroom include information on incubators. They actually kind of, when they speak about it, it's accelerators / incubators. We really want to be able to see which companies are going through those, more early stage incubators, so that we can track their success as well over the years. It's not just the startups that are already raised that we want to be tracking here. So we definitely include incubators. If you run an incubator and they're not in the accelerators tab, please add it in. We'd love to have as much information as we can here to really give a proper view of everything in the Victorian startup ecosystem and all the support that exists. Just got another one. Does Dealroom capture ABS and Australian Investment Council data? It's not something that is captured in there at the moment. Everything in Dealroom is publicly sourced information. So any like ABS data and Australian Investment Council data, if it isn't public, we haven't put it into the platform. Dealroom are working with, I know, different state governments in Australia, as well as the federal government, talking about the kinds of data that we can get access to in the future, just to make sure that we're capturing, all startups as soon as they kind of become a company. But it's not something that we've got in there at the moment. And the investment data that we're capturing is data that the startups are announcing themselves, or the investors are announcing themselves. Nothing that we're kind of going in and finding somewhere else. I hope that answers that question. When we find a potential investor, do we contact them outside of Dealroom? Yes. So at the moment, there's no capability in Dealroom to kind of, chat with someone or something, but investors in the platform, 90% of the time will have their LinkedIn link there. This is really about finding out who the people are and the kind of companies that they're investing in. It's not like a social network or something actually connecting you. And we don't include email addresses in there just for that privacy. So definitely go in and have a look and then contact them outside of the platform. But these people have put their information in there, especially if they're angels. They tend to keep their profiles up to date themselves. So if you're contacting them on LinkedIn or something, I'm sure they'd understand if you say that you found them in Dealroom. Did anyone have any other questions? I'll stay on the line just for a little bit longer in case anybody does. Any information to compare the Victorian startup ecosystem versus the other Australian states and territories? Thanks, Antonio. That's a great question. Currently, you can see Dealroom's, if you just went to dealroom.co, you can see their international platform, and you could filter that by Australia and kind of look at the different states. But because Victoria is the only state at the moment actively using the platform and with our own subdomain, there isn't a huge amount of information on all of the other states. So it's kind of an unfair analysis because Victoria just looks awesome, which we know it is, but very awesome. We're kind of, speaking to other state governments about also getting the Dealroom platform. That'd be our dream, being able to have one platform where everybody can analyze and benchmark their ecosystems against each other. And I know that some state governments are speaking with Dealroom at the moment, as well as I know other places in the Asia Pacific are also looking at getting the platform. So hopefully in the future, this is something that we can do really easily. And the dream would be to kind of have one Australia platform where you can see the map and then click into the states individually to really get a drill down into the data from those states. I think that's all the questions at the moment. I'll stay on the line just for a teeny bit longer. Great. Thanks very much, DIF, for having me.